Welcome back to part 2 where we'll construct the sleeper planters.
So as you can see, I've had the sleepers delivered and some fences for the back, so I've got to wait for renter muscle to turn up.
Here's Mr. Muscle himself, my son Chris. His rates are quite reasonable. I'd really appreciate it if you could support me by subscribing and liking the video. Also drop me a comment, as I'm really interested in your feedback.
So today I'm going to try and get it all cut basically and see if I can finish it off, at least the cutting of it. Then I've got to put the membrane around the inside and obviously stain it all as well. That'll probably be tomorrow, I guess, but if I can get all the cutting done today, that'll be good. So I'm just getting myself set up down the bottom of the road. I've got my cutting list that I've done, so it's my old project book, so I've done all the cut lengths that I need, but I shall also double check those when I get them into situ and that. So hopefully it'll be a good day. Looks like it's going to be a dry day, fortunately. So I've got all my tools out. I've got my circular saw. Now that won't go through the thickness of the wood, so I'm going to have to cut on both sides. I've got my big square that I use, and then I'm going to put some preservative that I've got on the end grain when I've cut it, to try and protect it a bit, and obviously all the health and safety stuff that I need for the day.
And this is where I get things slightly wrong, in much as I get kickback on the circular saw because I haven't got the wood sleeper balanced correctly. You should have the wood so that when it cuts, it actually opens up the cut rather than closes in on itself. I'm now just applying cut end grain protector. I had to shorten the bolts from the original post fixings. So lots of measuring and cutting. It was a bit like a Lego brick wall. So the technique of using the circular saw on the sleepers was to do 4 cuts. That way you get a fairly square cut. And any ragged edges, I just use the edge of the blade just to smooth it off.
So that's the first level cut. I've just got to now bitumen the bottom, and then I can start attaching it all together. Then do the second layer. Right, that's all the bottom's got a bitumen paint on. It's a blackjack pot bitumen, so it's a general purpose bitumen. Some YouTube channels I've seen says don't use it, others do use it. As long as the wood's breathing elsewhere and you don't put it all over, I don't see it being a major problem. So one mistake I made is I forgot to cut out the small channels to allow water through. I'll have to now do that after I've put the bitumen on, which is going to be a bit messy. But I just need to cut sort of small, 4, probably 3 channels anyway, just to allow water off the patio to be swept away and that.
So I then used an old piece of board to protect the circular saw from the bitumen, and then set the blade to the depth of the cutout that I wanted and did several passes so I could then chisel out the remainder.
Okay, so I'm getting to the point now where I want to start fixing it all together. The bitumen is just still a bit tacky, but it's enough to work on. There's obviously variance in the wood, and there's also some twist in the wood in places, which is why I want to start attaching it together. So I bought a set of flat, I guess, braces I'm going to use, but also 90-degree brackets. I'll put them all in the description, which I will put in the corners and also across and up to the second level as well, just to try and hold it in place a bit. But obviously I will then use 150mm hex Timco screws, which I will drive into either the sides or at an angle, depending on that, just to try and get the whole structure as rigid as I can. I'll put all the items in the description, so that's the next part of what I get on with. I've also treated myself to an impact driver. I've always wanted one of these because the Bosch is a real screwdriver, and I give it a bit of stick, to be honest, and it's starting to slip a bit. So I bought myself an impact driver because of driving these bolts in. It was actually on offer at Screwfix. I think it was 50% off. What I didn't realise, it didn't include the battery, and the battery was expensive. But anyway, I've got it now, so I'm going to give that a go with the driving those hex screws in, I think.
I initially used the drill at first to drill a pilot hole where the hex screws would go through, and then I'd countersink the holes so the heads would be recessed. I then later found out that I didn't really need to do this and would save myself a lot more time, as you will soon see. The 90-degree angle brackets for the corners, really just to hold the wood in position, but also hopefully in the future it will help stop the wood twisting and moving. I then realised that the impact driver was more than man enough for the job to drive the hex screws in without having to drill at all. This saved me lots of time. I use the flat plates to help brace the upper and lower levels and where two sleepers join each other. It's important to note I also drove lots of hex screws in from the sides, as well as diagonally down from the second level to the first level, just to secure it all. Of course, I had to keep reminding myself to actually put the end grain protector on as well.
That's the end of the day. I've managed to get it done. It was a bit of a struggle at one point, but it's looking alright, to be honest. So it's all cut, secured. You can see I've put the brackets on in the corners and flat brackets where appropriate, just to try and, if the wood does move, which it will, just to try and hold it together so it doesn't start springing all over the place. So I think the next stage will be to stain it. Probably needs 3 coats of stain, and then I can put the liner on and fill it with soil basically. Looks a bit harsh at the moment, but that'll soften with the flowers, I think, hopefully. I think the only thing I've probably made an error on is the drainage. I've got these channels into the soil off the patio. Probably what I should have done is cut back and put a channel in so the water has a place to escape without pooling, but I might have to retrospectively do that if it becomes a problem. The impact driver was a godsend. Saved. I didn't have to drill in the end. I thought I might have to drill the holes, but it drove them in. So my new favourite toy, I have to say. So I'm just going to put a routed finish on around the edges, just to give it something a bit different. Since I've got a router, I might as well use it.
have to say this made a huge difference in my opinion to the look and feel of the planter. I then applied 2 coats of stain which matched the framework that we'd already created. With the staining now completed, I now need to line the inside of the planter to help protect it from the damp soil. For this I've used a pond liner that I bought online. But you could use damp course protection membrane if you have it, or even heavy duty polythene bag material. So it's now time to fill up the planter. I simply use some rubble that I had knocking around, as you don't really want to fill up the whole planter with expensive compost and that. I then put a layer of 20mm gravel on top of this. Finally, I filled it up with topsoil that I collected over the years in bags that I'd stored at the bottom of the garden. Obviously you can buy in topsoil or compost, but obviously this can be expensive. The final fun part of putting plants into the garden suddenly transformed the area. I have to say I do like the soft round edges that I made with the router. I then had enough sleepers to create an L-shaped planter at the bottom of the garden. So let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you on the next project.